Dealers in heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Sing it again now. The victory is won. Victory is won. Victory is
Well, welcome to the Morning Update Show, everybody. I'm your co-host, Trey Holiday, and we have a special edition episode for you today as my co-host, the one and only Big O, is getting us live coverage from Cal Anderson Park. Let's bring in Big O live in the park. Hey, Big O, man, happy Wednesday, my friend.
Happy Wednesday to you, Treyana. How are you today, by the way, before we get started?
You know what? I am well, my friend. How are you out there?
I'm okay. And once again, we find ourselves here at Cal Anderson Park. It's been a familiar location for us here at Converge Media, going all the way back to June of this year. And today we're here. The city of Seattle announced that they were going to do a sweep of Cal Anderson Park this morning by around 7:30. That didn't occur. Right now, we've got helicopters in the air. It looks like a news chopper right now. The sheriff's chopper was up in here last night. And yeah, I'm developing story here. And, homelessness is an important issue for us here at Converge because, as you know, disproportionately, Black people make up a high number of people who are homeless, unhoused in Seattle. So, this is a lot of people might be like, oh, why are you at Cal Anderson Park? Why are you this and that? But man, homelessness definitely impacts our community 100%. And how the city handles homelessness translates to how they're going to handle homelessness in our community and other communities. So we're kind of here following the story. We've also got Bobby Stills, who we'll bring in later on. He's on the other side of the park. Well, there goes Bobby Stills. Well, there's me right there. Okay, so there's Bobby Stills. He's on the other side. And then we're in a second here. We're going to be bringing in Justin Carter from the CapitolHillSeattle.com, Capitol Hill Seattle blog. So yeah, it's interesting up here right now, Trey.
Wow. Well, I'm shocked. I remember the last time we were reporting on the sweeps, we thought that they were going to be coming at a later hour and they showed up earlier. Now this time you're saying it hasn't happened and it was supposed to happen some hours ago. So again, I think this is something we're going to have to follow. I'm glad you guys are out there.
Right. And well, actually, I think probably what happened is that in previous sweeps, the it hasn't been as formal, so to speak. And on this sweep here, there was notices that went up 2 days in advance. And I think that the SPD, they're still going to sweep this. Most likely, they're going to come and sweep it tomorrow morning. I don't think that it's going to happen here today. At this point, we're going to lose daylight at 4 o'clock. But I think that they'll be out here tomorrow morning. But what we're hearing is that it was pushback from the police. The police, they want to sweep it today, and this is just what we're hearing. They didn't want to sweep it today because there's no element of surprise for them. And to be honest with you, there's quite a lot of people here at Cal Anderson Park. A lot of people have showed up, in support of this homeless in encampment that's here, and I still think that it's going to get swept. It's just not going to happen today.
Well, this is, such a hot button issue for Seattle. As we saw, there was a Como 4 News report talking about homelessness in a light that was not so favorable. And I know you wanted to talk about this later in the week, so hopefully we can get into it, because you being out there definitely has something about that story, my friend.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about in regards to that report as well. And like last night, I spent hours out here. Me and Bobby Stills just talking to people. We talked to people who are actually living in the park. We talked to homeless advocates. We talked to people who are part of the protest movement. So quite a few different types of people that we've discussed out here. And so yeah, we definitely have some rebuttal to that report that we saw. But right now, Trey Holiday, man, let's bring in Justin Carter from CapitolHillSeattle.com. Hey, Justin.
Good morning.
All right, Justin. Let me throw it over to you. You've been there in your newsroom, kind of following some of everything, man. Like, what update do you have as to what you've seen that's going on, and what are some of your expectations here, maybe in the next 24 hours?
Sure. So I did visit the site this morning and toured around the park. There, in case the 7:30 time came and there was a actual action, but what we saw this morning was something that was probably more familiar with past police occupation actions around Capitol Hill, going way back, almost a decade, to when Occupy was active here, and there were some warehouses and buildings that needed to be cleared or were taken by the activists and cleared by police eventually. And what we saw in those situations often was what we're seeing right now, which is a stutter step move, a pause, a deliberateness from authorities, while activists and community defense volunteers have to remain on ready and are in a very stressed out and very activated mode, which for a period that really we don't know. I mean, there's no reason that this couldn't last a couple days, and we might expect to see that. The police are probably going to be very deliberate in this activity.
I have a
So
question.
basically, go ahead, Trey. Sorry.
No, I'm sorry. My question is what is the point of this strategy, Justin? I mean, if we're seeing this, is it really to be throwing folks off? I mean, you just mentioned there, that the activists and those who are experiencing it have to be at the ready. But, it's this constant elevation of anxiety. What is that about?
Well, I think it's about caution and diligence in making sure that all the pieces are in place. In this kind of situation, this is a response. The city says especially that this is a response to community calls for action, letters from developers, property owners, even the president of Seattle Central College, saying that the situation in Cal Anderson needs to change. But it is not because there is an emergency, there is not a fire, there is not active issues to someone's safety and life. And so because of that, I think you're seeing maybe the full city bureaucracy go into play and a very deliberate action unfolding in front of us. And that means timelines that none of us are going to fully understand. There's just a lot of stakeholders in this process, from Seattle Parks all the way into the mayor's office, and they're being very cautious. They've done this in a way that the whole world now is watching. So
Right.
It's very intentional.
Right. We saw the national news. We saw national news out here earlier. I know Fox News was out here over by the college about an hour ago. There's some other national news stories. So yeah, this is actually a big national news story now that's growing here. And we've seen that tactic before, the hurry up and wait. through right after the chop was swept, and there was different things going on, small occupations, and it was kind of hurry up and wait around that. I remember when they said they were going to clear Seattle Central, and build a fence over there, and then they put up the notices. They were saying that they were coming to put up the fence. Then they waited like 6 days. People were showing up every day, and then they waited like 6 days. Everybody was gone. Then they put up the fence. So,
Yeah.
it. Go ahead, Justin.
Yeah. One important aspect to add to this, and this is something that I'm hearing from many of the people that are involved in these letters and these communications to the mayor's office, is that the outreach is happening. And now outreach is that kind of word, almost like community. What the hell does outreach really
Right.
mean? But there are people making contact with homeless individuals around the park and around parks all over Capitol Hill. A great example is Williams Place Park, that's completely out of this media spotlight. I went by that this morning, and it is incredibly cleared. And part of that is a success from the outreach strategy, in where people have been offered shelter and some have accepted. And we're seeing that also at Paul Anderson.
Right, and actually, I want to bring in Bobby here, Bobby Stills, because you bring up something in important, is that what we're hearing is that, following this since August, is one, when we talk about outreach, is that the people who've been in the park, actual just community people and volunteers, have actually got a lot of people out of the park. Now, more homeless have come to the park, but this is separate from the city, separate from anything else. These are just the people who've been here and trying to connect people to resources. But then also, there have been some city resources that have come here, and also we saw the Urban League earlier today. But Bobby, talk about some of the hurdles. Like, I mean, you talked about, you saw research, you've seen outreach people come, but then there's a hurdle between the actual outreach person and the service being delivered.
Yeah, so a lot of outreach organizations have been actually activated in the past 2 weeks out here in Cal Anderson Park, and some of the hurdles that they face is paperwork, identification, and then actually following up with some of the people that are unsheltered here in Cal Anderson Park. Now, like you said earlier, a lot of the people that were here earlier in the summer, they haven't been able to get into housing. And that's due to part to the community, and that's due to, in part, by some of the outreach organizations. A lot of these people that are here are new to Cal Anderson Park. And like we've seen this morning, there's been urban leagues out here, reaches out here, Lehigh's out here, and they're trying to get these people into housing. So they're actually doing their part. And we actually know that city officials are just located at Nagel and Broadway, right by the staircase, to actually give services to people that need housing. So, they are attempting to get people some
And
emergency housing.
and what I would say is, like, right now, it looks like some of the dots are being connected. That hasn't always been the case, like maybe even right now today, because maybe the national news is here. But, not to disregard other people's efforts, but what we've seen is like, it's almost like the Kool-Aid and no sugar, the ham and no burger. You know what I'm saying? Or like, hey, we have housing for you, but it's in, somewhere in South King County, but we don't have transportation. You know what I'm saying? Or we have, and you've got somebody who has all their tents. So then they're like, no, I don't want to leave all my goods. Has that gap kind of been fixed, is what you're seeing, Bobby, from your side? Are
No,
people connecting? Go ahead.
I mean, I think the issue with a lot of people is, and we've talked about it with some other community organizations, is this choice. They don't have a choice. It's either, there's that letter that came out last night where they said, we've reached out, people don't want it. It's either you take this or there's nothing else. So they don't have a choice. It's either you're in SeaTac or Renton or nothing else. There's no choice available to them. So a lot of them would rather stay here, and they have friends that are here. Some of them, have families that are here. There's also veteran services, and it's like, we can only take you either men or women. So there's lots of hurdles, lots of red tape, lots of gates that are preventing people from having a choice. And I think therein lies the issue, is that there's just not a lot of options. It's either take it or leave it. And some people would just rather stay here in the park.
Yeah, my question to you, Bobby, is I'm wondering, you said that there was new people in the park now, right? Some folks have been able to connect those dots and get the services that they need. But I'm wondering if, some unsheltered folks are also coming there to try to get connected. I mean, if now they're saying, look, Cal Anderson is where they're helping people, maybe I need to move my tent there so maybe I can receive the help. Are we seeing kind of an influx of new unsheltered people, maybe due to the services that are being represented in the park?
Yeah, there's over 42 different encampments here in the city of Seattle, right? And so some people choose to live in whatever neighborhood they want to live in. I think there are a couple more resources out here in Cal Anderson Park, and so some of them come here. But there's also an influx of people here, so it's its own community. It's its own bubble down here where the community looks out for each other. So they'd much rather be here where they know that the community is going to be out here protecting them. There's lots of mutual aid going on. There are human services that do come in and check on them. The community looks out for each other down here in the park. So it's a lot easier for people to come down here and actually find some sense of family or community. And so that's why they're attracted to Cal Anderson Park. They're not spread about on the outskirts of Seattle.
Sure.
But there still are other encampments where people also live. It's not just Cal Anderson. But this happens to be the focus because, the police precincts and the protest.
Right. Justin, are you seeing something similar throughout the summer that the homeless, the unhoused that came here to Cal Anderson, community people kind of rallied around to get them services? They've moved some people out and the influx comes back, it's new people into the park?
Yes. We've certainly seen both Cal Anderson as a resource, as a place to live, and as a platform, as a place to spread messages and make a stand and make a point. And we're seeing all of those things again today. And to start looking forward, we're going to see this again. One thing is that even after the CHOP raid, almost within hours, there was a return and an effort to rebuild some of the things that were ripped down and taken apart. And starting to ask harder questions about what will be different this time or what should be different this time is something that needs to start to happen, because they can sweep the park and all of these issues will remain. All of these people will still be in Seattle that need places to live and help. And nothing will really change after police sweep through. So that the city can do programming in the park. They can try and communicate. I know there's a program they're starting to plan right now for cleanup crews to come in from the community starting in January. Those kinds of activities will help, but there's going to have to be something different to change what has happened in Cal Anderson, because there is a real need in this city, and this is the point where the people are making the stand.
Right. Now, Nikki, can we take the audience back? We were back here in August when the shelter house was first getting, I guess you would say, set up. And I believe that we did this interview here right after the first sweep, right? I think right after the first sweep. This is either before the first sweep or right after. I know right after the first sweep, 4 hours later, they were set up. But this was actually shot back in August 18th, back when the shelter house was really taking form.
We're here to do 3 things. We're here to feed people out of the kitchen. We're here to accept donations and supplies to be distributed to people who need them. And we're here to shelter the people who are the most marginalized, the most at risk, and make sure that they're safe. It's literally that.
I'm out here because I'm tired of unsheltered people not having resources or access or anybody to care about them. I'm out here to be a body to keep people safe. I'm out here to be a body to listen to people. I'm out here to be a body to...
Some of the resources that you see floating around is who to call instead of 911. Those are not actually things that work very well. And they're oftentimes not things that show up immediately on the ground. So one of the things that we were dealing with is we had a gentleman who had just been out of jail, who had decompensated, was not having a good time, and was not eating, sleeping, drinking water, any of that, not taking care of himself, and he was getting really agitated. So we called all the right people, right? I called Reach, I called out to everyone, and people said they'd get back to us. One person from Reach did come down, but they never followed back up. And this has just been something that is constantly happening with the city, but it ended up being this person was arrested because he went across the street, he got super agitated, he broke a window, and the police responded. So we had, the first 2 days when we were calling people, if people had shown up, he would never got arrested.
Describe to us, what are you seeing here? What's your average day consist?
I mean, there are people who are mentally unstable, who are on drugs, who need access to resources. They need access to mental health. Please, I'm begging the city, I am begging social workers, I'm begging mental health workers to please come out here. Please put your money where your mouth is. Please give back to the community. Please come out here. We are not trained to handle all that's going on here, but we're doing our best with what we have.
Parks and Rec has been non-responsive, has been dragging their feet on this, and as far as contact, we've been contacted by the police many times.
This is an open plea to the city to please help us. Please stop sending police officers. Please send social workers. Please stop sending officers to mace people and arrest people. Please send mental health workers to talk to these people, to try and see if we can get them into places.
What do you say to people like who live in the neighborhood and they're like, hey, well, we want to use the shelter space. We want to be able to bring space over here. And now they feel that they can't because you guys are operating this shelter operation.
Oh, well, I've never seen this rented out. If they wanted to rent it out, it's been closed during COVID anyway.
We don't want this to be an actual homeless shelter. This should just be a point where people can come to receive services that are offered by the city. And right now, the city is not offering these services.
How long do you guys plan to be here?
Well, until people are housed and until people have everything they need, we'll be here providing that for them. I mean, preferably it would be an institution that does it, that has the money, that has the funding, but I'll do it until then. We'll all do it until then. Everyone's been helping out. This is just something that needs to happen.
All right. That was back August 18th. Justin, I want to kick over to you. What is the communication coming from the city of Seattle to residents up here on Capitol Hill? Did they send out a letter or an email to residents?
Yes, there's been messaging about the making the case for the sweep. They don't call it a sweep, of course. That I'm not really sure on the audience for that. The messages I've seen have been sent to property owners and buildings in the area near the park. Most of that messaging is focused on the public safety justifications and concerns about fires, and also looking ahead at some of the plans on how to activate the park and clean it up. A 3-day intensive cleanup session is what Parks has talked about, and then that will be followed by community cleanup sessions starting in January. And then there's also some messaging around like arts and entertainment events that are supposedly going to happen next year to help make the park an active place and keep it full of the community.
Right. And now you have an article. I think we might have an overlay of it. We have an article up there. People can go up to capitolhillseattle.com. Tell us all about this.
Yes, this is a story we posted last night after working kind of all day on Tuesday, trying to track down what exactly the mayor and city officials were hearing from what they're calling the community around Cal Anderson, neighbors, property owners, business owners, and developers. And so these are some of the letters that we received. Probably the core letter was sent on Monday after the notice was posted, and it's from a kind of a who's who of property owners and developers in the area, including the owner of the Broadway building right next to Cal Anderson, including the president of Seattle Central. And it's their kind of evidentiary request to the city to intervene in what's happening in Cal Anderson from a safety standpoint, and their support for outreach, they say, and for clearing the park safely, and then cleaning it up and reopening it to the public. Interestingly, it's also a lot of people that are currently suing the city over its how it handled CHOP.
Right. And I know you got a question, Trey. I just want to drop this in here real quick. So, yeah, so basically the same people who are suing the city are the same people who are writing the letter. You live in the neighborhood. Yeah, I mean, it's Capitol Hill, Seattle blog, but you also cover the Central District. Thank you. What's the average person in the neighborhood feeling? Because I'll be honest with you, I was out here since 6 o'clock this morning. People who live in the neighborhood were bringing coffee down. People were bringing donuts down. People, I mean, it wasn't people who drove in. These were people like, oh, I live in the Packard building, or I live in the Black building, or I live in this building. And so, I mean, clearly there is some support in the neighborhood for what's going on here. But you live in the neighborhood. You tell us.
Well, you're going to paint really broad strokes when you try and answer a question like this. I think in general, that area especially is a real, that's a very woke part of the neighborhood. That core is a bunch of young people. They might have jobs at big tech companies, but they're aware. Many of them fit into the categories and align themselves with all the causes of Black Lives Matter, and they understand it. And a lot don't. And a lot are disconnected from it. And then maybe the farther you get away from Cal Anderson, the more likely you're going to run into people that have maybe a more suburban outlook on the city and are more worried about things like their family and crime and safety in the parks where they go and run at, say, Miller Community Center. And so, it's a dichotomy, but it definitely runs the gamut from support to the ideals to having a really difficult time with it when it's across the street from your own home.
Trey Holiday?
Yeah, I mean, you're mentioning and describing a dynamic of the community that,
I can't hear you, Trey.
Can you not hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, yeah. That I have seen while I'm there as well. And honestly, I think that now, because there's been so much time, are you feeling that more people, are beginning to wonder what's going on in their neighborhood? Because I know that as they walk out, or even if they're working from home, if they walk their dogs or whatever, they're seeing it, right? They're able to see it, and they're seeing it consistently for a very long period of time now. And as Bobby was saying, and you have been saying, newer people coming in to see these services, it's a real big part of the park and a real big part of Capitol Hill. How are you feeling like, as you connect with neighbors and other people that, maybe just the length of time, how is that affecting maybe the ideals around this situation?
Yeah, to be honest, I wish I had a better answer for this. But I think what I am maybe seeing most clearly is fatigue. And it's, in the big picture, it's not fair. These are major, massive issues to solve that are basically the core of our civilization right now. But people are frustrated. They are tired, and maybe more so than ever. And I do think that lends itself to more negative commentary and messages and a feeling about the causes, where people in some aspects are giving up because it's dragging out so long, and they're seeing things like piles of trash and just the parts of what it takes to live outside. But for the first time in a long time, maybe some of them are seeing it up close and next to them, and they just can't handle it. And so that's what I think, if I had to describe change and some of the feelings I'm getting from the neighborhood, those are the things I hear about more, and it's really concerning.
Yeah, I mean, it's homelessness is becoming more visible across the city. And homelessness has kind of always been a thing where out of sight, out of mind, and now it's in sight, and it's just interesting. And when a lot of times when I put out a tweet or I read some of the comments of how polarizing it is, you got a lot of people who are like, basically screw the homeless, whatever the context is. These guys are the worst X, Y, and Z of society, especially the people here that are on the streets. And people don't understand when they're saying homeless or unhoused, that's a wide term. There's the working poor who's unhoused. There's literally I don't know the exact number, but hundreds and hundreds of people who live in their car, You know what I'm saying? Who are homeless. Then you've got people, who are sheltered or homeless. And this is the people who you see on the street. So there's so many people out here that are homeless. But it's such a polarizing discussion in our city. A lot of the stuff that we see in media furthers the polarization and doesn't really, open itself up for like, okay, how do we come together and meet on these points? But I mean, how do you feel, Justin? Do you feel and see some of the same things that I'm saying? That this is a very polarizing discussion here. I'm not finding a lot of middle ground when we talk about homelessness in the city of Seattle.
Yeah, no, these are the reasons that these are the causes that are emerging at Cal Anderson in the middle of Capitol Hill, in the middle of the city. The Black Lives Matter has the same general construct, the same issue, right, of fatigue for the kind of the regular person in Seattle. And again, that is impatience, that is short-sightedness. And unfortunately, it's really human. And sorting that out and keeping things like Como's Sinclair kind of documentaries from really giving words and shape to some of those feelings of fatigue is a real challenge, that I take very seriously. But I don't want to lose the thread and make this about media. I think going back to the park and what's going on there today is this is about the people living there. And it's also about why they're living there. And there are efforts to sort out the people living there that are happening with outreach. It's harder to show the efforts to fix why they're there. And that's the real challenge, I guess, that's going to come in the next couple of days and weeks and months is fixing why they're there and making sure people see that and making sure people, frankly, just don't get tired of the battle and the long push.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
think
Speaking of outreach, I bumped into Bobby Tramble earlier from the Urban League of Metropolitan Seattle. The Urban League has been out here. They said that they have motel rooms out in SeaTac. I think there's a little bit of a logistics situation right now, but they're trying to see who they could intake to get to motels in the SeaTac area. Nikki, if you could play that clip from earlier today.
All right, what's your name? Where are you from? And what are you guys doing out here?
My name is Bobby Tramble. I'm from Seattle, Central District area. I'm working with Urban League of Metropolitan of Seattle. We're here today helping people with resources, job development, trying to get them housing, get them off the streets so we can...
you guys have housing for them now?
Yes, we have housing. We also have motels that we are assisting people with. And,
you got motels ready to go today?
We got
right
hotels
now?
ready to go right now today, where we will be also working on assisting you with housing at the same time, along with job development and education.
I see you got these bags out here. What's in the bags?
Oh, these are bags. These are that we pass out, outreach. Basically, in the bag, we just got goodies. We got goodies. We got cups, food. We got hats, scarves, all of this. Just a goodie bag with goods.
Have you talked to any of the homeless people that are in the park
I've talked to many of them, and we passed out many intakes. We got a few filling out intakes right now. I'm on my way over right now to pick up some intakes. Same time, we passing out these bags, and we're just trying to get things rolling.
So I just want to be clear. What you're saying is that the Urban League has motels ready right now for people that are experiencing homelessness right here in the park.
Yes, we do. Right now, people are experiencing homelessness right now. You can come to us. We'll help you and assist you with motels. Come on down. We're here to help. Hopefully, we can get you housing in the process. It's just all about you putting in the work and wanting to do it. That's it.
All right, Bobby. Thank you.
All right. Now, so we see right there the Urban League, Bobby Trample out here, and they're trying to do their intake. Treyana, you're part of a lot of community organizations, Africa Town Community Land Trust, King County Equity now. I mean, man, how important is it? We see these things going on here in the city, but we know the government's not going to solve every problem. One, how good is it to see somebody like the Urban League that's out here? And two, how important is it that community groups, kind of step up and see what they can do, considering that Black people make up a disproportionate amount of the homeless that are here in Seattle?
I think it's a great question. And I love seeing community groups out there and organizations that have the resources to do this. I think that there's a multitude of ways that these kinds of issues are being addressed at the community organizational level. I do know that Africatown Community Land Trust, right now, what they have decided to do is utilize majority of a fund that came in to really help with rent and help with mortgage. So now it's about what do we do with the homeless? I mean, this is why affordable housing and measures like that are so important. This is why creating real shelters like what we're trying to do with the Cairo site is so important, because that is going to provide immediate beds for families as well. So those are the measures that we see Africatown Community Land Trust taking. We also know that King County Equity Now is working on the back end with a lot of these measures regarding homeless. That's a major part of the research project that is going on right now. 12 teams out throughout the city gathering research and getting these surveys, because we need to be able to take the data back when we talk about participatory budgeting, when we talk about what the needs of the community really is. This is a high priority on all levels. So it's being attacked in multiple fronts. And I think also too, that it's worth mentioning. I mean, we mentioned it before. You know, Renton, a city outside of Seattle, was dealing with the Red Line Inn, you know, housing homeless folks, housing unsheltered, and the city council there just decided we're no longer going to do that. So I think we also are always thinking about King County, spreading it out wide throughout the county so that these solutions can actually rectify issues and situations that play out just like that. Because I think what you guys were talking about with this polarizing ideals is very true, and it plays out alive and well when we see a whole other city decide that, hey, we're no longer going to do this. So shout out to CTAC that Urban League does have a motel available for those who are in Cal Anderson Park and others who need that resource, because honestly, it really is about getting direct resources to these families and to these folks.
All right, and bring me back here, Nikki. You hear me? So speaking of that, Nikki, I interviewed Erica C. Barnett yesterday from Public Cola. You brought up Renton and their decision there with the Red Lion Inn and their future zoning around homeless shelters. I talked to Erica C. Barnett from publiccola.com yesterday. She had been following that story closely, and we got a short clip.
The Renton City Council has voted overwhelmingly to kick out a bunch of unsheltered people, about 235 that are living in the Red Lion right now. And they're going to do that in 2 stages. They are going to have to reduce that population to 125 at the beginning of next June. And then next December, a year from now, everybody has to be out. And the way they did this is through a zoning law that essentially says a homeless shelter is not allowed in this zone. So that's the top line. They also adopted some legislation that's going to make it really hard for shelters to set up elsewhere in Renton, and is going to limit the number of people they can serve to a total of 100.
Right. And now what brought this about in the Renton City Council? What was the catalyst behind this legislation?
Well, the Renton City Council and a lot of homeowners, businesses in the area have really not wanted this shelter to be there in the first place. The people came in last year, right near the beginning earlier this year at the beginning of the pandemic, because they were living at the Morrison Hotel in downtown Seattle, which is a really, really crowded shelter. It was a really crowded shelter where people kind of stayed in bunks, like right on top of each other. And so they had to move because of COVID. It was sort of done in an emergency way because it's an emergency. King County moved them out there. And a lot of folks in Renton have been trying to get them out ever since. There's litigation that's ongoing right now, separate from this whole legislation question, where they're trying to claim that this is an illegal zone issue, that it's not allowed under the zoning. I think the legislation kind of circumvents that. But yeah, I mean, this is an ongoing battle, and this is just the latest volley. And I actually don't think it's going to be the last one either.
All right. Justin Carter, in my interview with Erica C. Barnett, she talked about how, homelessness. Well, she actually pointed out a few things in that interview. One of the things that she said is that, a lot of people tend to think that Seattle's homeless are overflowing into other cities. But she was like, you know, a lot of research shows that people become homeless in other cities and they move to Seattle for resources. But she also talked about more of a regional approach around homelessness. I mean, there's so many different answers out there. I don't expect you to answer everything, but what are some of your thoughts on like what needs to occur? What would you like to see happen?
I don't get to usually make those kinds of calls as far as what I'd like to see. I definitely think that there's a lot of talk about regional solutions, but they often end up like the Red Lion situation. And so it kind of makes you think, well, maybe we should take care of things here, and maybe we should just take care of things in our own neighborhood and build from there. Another aspect of that that does also resonate with me, though, is how much of this is up to things like legal processes and courts. And we're about to see that even with the Cal Anderson situation. And I don't know if you've seen, but there's some filings in the federal court now, in the district court here in Washington, to try and get a judge to approve a restraining order on this sweep and on this clearance, brought on behalf of a resident of the encampments in Cal Anderson. So that will be something that we'll be watching into the afternoon.
All right, all right. Do you have any other questions for Justin, Triana?
No, great job today, Justin. Thank you for all of your insight. I think it's important, again, that we continue to have great reporting around this, because the community and public at large really needs to be aware of all of the things that are going on. We don't want any more kind of backdoor decisions to really play out in the city. And I think I really appreciate your insight today.
Thank you. Thank you. And it's good also to get a chance to see Omari in person sometimes.
Yeah, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm back up here. You know, I saw so many people, man. You know what I'm saying? It was like chop reunion up here. You know,
a little bit.
Yeah, it's especially media people. It's a lot of media people that especially the photographers, that I haven't seen here in a long time. What we're gonna do right now is we're gonna take a short break. When we come back, we've got Nikki Barron with the coronavirus update. And then after the coronavirus update, we'll talk about what's going to be next up here at Cal Anderson Park. You're watching the Morning Update Show.
My parents coming over here as refugees meant that they didn't really have anything when they came to America. Having reliable healthcare and having a reliable doctor was really important. Cộng đồng của tôi, trạm y tế của tôi.
我的社区，我的诊所。Mi comunidad, mi clínica.
بلشدة هي بقارها.
My community, my clinic.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your man, the Big O. Want to take a moment here, first of all, to say thank you for your support of Converge Media. We definitely wouldn't be here without you. Secondly, I want to thank everybody who is a supporter of Converge Media on Patreon. We definitely appreciate your support. And for those of you might not know, I'll let you know, we operate 100% off of donations. Some donations big, most donations small, but we love all donations all the same. If you haven't done so yet, I want to encourage you to go on our website to whereweconverge.com/donate and subscribe. You click on the Patreon link and you can subscribe for as little as $5 a month. There's higher tiers beyond that as well. And just know that your subscription literally keeps us on the air. Once again, I want to thank you for all your support.
All right, welcome back to the Morning Update Show. My name is Omari Salisbury, joined by Triana Holiday. And it turns out that we still actually have Bobby Stills. So we're going to do the coronavirus update, and we're going to go back to Bobby on the other side of the park. I thought we lost him. Producer Nikki Barron, where are you at?
I'm right here.
All right, if you can hit the numbers for us and go over what's happening here in the coronavirus update today, and then we'll cut back over to Bobby Stills.
Well, yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about the numbers. We have increased cases by 1,272 confirmed cases. We also, hospitalizations rose by 124. And deaths rose by 35 here in the state of Washington. So those are the numbers. We're not really seeing a slowdown in rates or hospitalizations or deaths right now, but we are seeing a slowdown when it comes to our readiness numbers. So if you watch Morning Update Show, I talk about this every day, and that is that our goal is to get under 80% when it comes to the amount of hospital ICU beds that are filled. And we are currently down to 78.6. It's been a couple weeks since we were down. So it's good to see that that number is going down. It's the only goal we're hitting as far as what we're trying to do for the coronavirus numbers, and that includes people who are diagnosed and ICU beds and hospital readiness. So that is the coronavirus update.
You're muted,
Well,
Omari.
That was me. Sorry about that. It's hard to be on the show and direct the show. It's
now you see, it's crazy, right?
You're doing a great
you
job.
have the coronavirus update show tonight at 6:15 p.m. If you tell everybody quickly who's on there.
Yeah, so join me tonight at 6:15. Maybe Omari will be there. We'll see. I know he probably needs a nap, but you'll see us tonight at 6:15 actually talking to the executive, the medical executive that's actually running all of this. So we're going to touch
Dr.
a little bit
Duchin.
of, yes, Dr. Duchin, where we're going to talk a little bit about everything related to the coronavirus when it comes to King County, and a few highlights being we're going to talk about the racial disparity when it comes to it, and then the vaccine are two topics I know for sure that we're going to have a chance to hit.
All right. Thank you, Nikki.
Bye.
All right. Now, if we can get Bobby. Is Bobby still over there?
Hi.
Bobby Steele, the postman. All right.
Yeah.
So you're just on the other side of me. You know what's interesting there? I see David from Malcontent, but man, we're the only media inside the park, Bobby. I mean,
Yeah.
we see the big stations. They're out in the perimeter. So I see some of the other stations. They're across the street. I know Fox was over there by the college, but it looks like Converge is actually the only media that's inside the park.
I mean, I think that shows a testament to our coverage, and that that we're community based, and we're actually from the community, and we actually know a lot of the people that are out here. I just had a friend that walked by, so I think that actually shows. I actually got to go. I went inside behind the barricades by the shelter house. There's people in there that we're in the middle. So some people were happy to see me, other people were not happy to have me in there, but. We weren't even filming, like we said before. We don't always go live all the time. We always don't take pictures and stuff. We're just there to report what we see from our perspective. So, we try to keep it fair and even. I think we're doing a pretty good job of that. And I think all our supporters, notice that, and a lot of the community members out here notice that. I just want to add one thing to the end of what Justin was saying, and I didn't get a chance to. I think a lot of what the community out here and a lot of the activists that are actually out here are upset with the city about, and I think your video kind of shows that narrative, is that the city has a plan for this park, to activate this park. Parks and Rec also has a plan moving forward once the park gets cleaned up for the shelter house, but they've had 4 to 5 months to actually have a plan for some of these people out here that are camping in the park. And nothing's happened. It's been community organizers like Allie, like Hank. It's been a lot of the nonprofits out here doing the work, but the city hasn't done anything. The city's mostly came out here and said, how can we get this park back? How can we activate this park and make it good for the residents and business owners out here? But they haven't been thinking a lot about the unsheltered out here. And with, the job market being what it is, a lot of the shelters, housing running at 25, 50%. I think therein lies the issue with a lot of the activists and community organizers out here. Just wanted to add that.
Yeah, I love that you say that, Bobby.
Okay.
Because one of the things I was going to say, is that this is another reason why when we talk about direct investment into community organizations, it's because we don't see a lot of these kinds of solutions coming from the city. What we do see is that there are these departments that are, dedicated to this work. However, when we actually look at what they do in a year or 5, it's very minimal. And this is why, again, we cannot continue to have meeting after meeting about the statistics. We really need real life-changing, sustainable solutions that are going to bring about the equity. And I just love that you say that, because again, this is why we were seeing so many people still, out there almost protesting. I mean, as you even said, people are coming out there to support those who are unsheltered right now, because they thought that these sweeps were going to happen. It wasn't people coming out there saying, yeah, sweep them, sweep them. It was people going, wait, we need to make sure that they're okay. And that really shows the ethos and like the general consensus of where so many people are also coming from. So I think you're right about this polarization that you said earlier, Omari. But I love hearing that there really are solutions coming from community. This is why they need more resources, absolutely, because they don't come from the city. Thanks for uplifting that, Bobby.
Yeah, I mean, and they've been out here. I mean, those same people in that video that Omari, interviewed 4 or 5 months ago, those are the ones that have been putting in the work. Those are the ones that have actually checked in with the people that need the resources. They're the one connecting them to the outreach organizations and actually checking with these people on a daily. And that's why some of the community organizations and some of the activists out here are so upset with the city government, is that they're not being paid to do this. You know what I'm saying? And they're out there doing this every day on their own dime. So
Right. One moment. What's up? Okay, I can't hear you guys, Jake, Eric. Well, I got Jake and Eric over here. They're definitely pointing to something. We might have something else going on. Well, I would say this is that, like I said here for today, as we see the choppers above us, the app is saying that's Cairo 7's chopper up there in the air. At the moment, we didn't see any movement here today by SPD. Like, we know ultimately it's coming. I haven't seen any kind of solution out here that they're talking about that doesn't necessarily involve the police, a police presence and removal. There was a lot of people came in here, about 100 people earlier today, about between 6 and 7 a.m. By 7:15, 7:30, you had all the streets blocked off, and actually 11th Avenue in between Pine and Olive is still blocked. So there's no direct traffic that's there. Bobby, what are you hearing? I know it's all rumor of what might happen or if happen or whatever, but what are you hearing about when this sweep might take place? And then also, like, how committed are the people who are over in the barricade right behind you as to staying there?
I mean, so as far as I know, we've heard rumblings of the city waiting. They're testing the water to see exactly how people react. We saw this morning you put out a tweet that the cops were circling the park with their lights on. And so they were seeing how the people were activating, what they were doing, their strategy. So, I'm not sure when they're going in. We keep hearing that maybe tomorrow they're going to come in. But a lot of these activists here, they're really, really dug in. A lot of the people have traveled from, Portland. They've traveled from Olympia. They've come. They're not planning on leave. They're staying overnight. And this is, I mean, they're pretty well dug in. So, I don't think they're planning on leaving. There's a lot of mutual aid tents set up, so people don't have to leave. So I think, I hope that we got some resolution coming between the organizers, activists, and the city, because it's pretty volatile. If police were to come here inside, I actually got to go inside. So it just seems unsafe for everybody out here. So I hope that we can come to some sort of agreement and figure something out.
Yeah, I can definitely second that. When you talk about entrenched, you know what I'm saying? When you talk about barricade, when you talk about people who are committed, I mean, clearly at the end of the day, the police can ultimately have more numbers, more manpower, more firepower, and some everything else. But I mean, as much I guess you just say violence we've seen on Capitol Hill since June. I man, I'm not looking forward to an encounter like that. But clearly we'll see what happens. Before we get ready to wind down, Treyana, did you have any questions for me or Bobby?
Yeah, I mean, my biggest thing for both of you is just wanting to shout out the fact again that Converge is on the ground. Thank you guys both for being out there. I see that it's pretty chilly. I can see your breath, so I know it's a little bit cold out there. I just appreciate both of you guys being out. And again, I think this is another story for us to continue to follow because we don't want, as you just said, Omari, we don't want it to go awry. We really want these people to get the resources they need, to get the help they need, and ultimately for it to really be a peaceful solution overall. So I just want to thank you both for being out there today.
I'll tell you one good thing that's come out of this is I got to have a sleepover with O since I just live directly down the street on the other side of the park, and it was an early morning raid. Me and O got to do all the things, play Twister, watch movies, scary movies. So that's one good impact that this no-go sweep had. But it was actually nice to be out here and see a lot of the community members back out here organizing. There's some city officials that were down here. There's a lot of community organizers down here. Some of the activists. A lot of these people are supporters. So it's actually nice to get out there, put feet on the ground, and actually get to see these people in person. So yeah.
Yeah, and I would say this, a lot of times people from the city of Seattle, they watch the Morning Update show. If the city of Seattle, if you guys have any communication for us, if you want to send us over anything, and this is something that we've continuously asked for, I will say this, is that we were very proactive way back in August. And we checked in with Parks Department. We checked in with Human Services, reached out to all the people. Human Services never got back to us. To this day, Human Services has never got back to Converge Media, ever. You know what I'm saying? On this issue here. We talked to them one time back when Chop was going. This issue here, since August, Human Services has never, ever got back to Converge. All we were trying to do is get the information out to the public. Parks, we had conversation with them early on. The PIO over there put out some information, but again, they went dark. And so like something like this, you know what I'm saying? When you're talking about homeless and community news, and you're talking about a news organization that's not trying to sensationalize anything, but actually try to get the information out, man, I'm kind of dumbfounded how, there isn't a flow of information that comes over here, So once again, to the city of Seattle, if you have any update for the residents here at Capitol Hill, I know there's an email that went out, but some of these people might not have got it. If you have an update for the people who live in Capitol Hill, if you have an update for the people who are here in the park, if you have an update for the citizen stakeholders of the city of Seattle, we'd be more than happy, to help get that information out. So you guys know the email, my phone number, If there's some kind of update here or a plan that you guys have, a greater plan, please share with us here. Want to remind everybody tonight at 6:15 p.m., coronavirus update show with Nikki Barron, and we've got Dr. Duchin from King County Health. This is going to be in. We're going to stay on top of this story here. It looks like I might do sleepover night number 2 over at Bobby Steele's house. You know what I'm saying? We'll put some hot dogs on the grill. But up until tomorrow, I can't hear everybody, so I'll sign us off from here. Until tomorrow at 11 a.m., Morning Update show. Peace.
Peace.